that line. So, I am with the Eagle River Historical Society. I'm its past executive director and currently the president of the Northern Wisconsin Heritage Council, or NWHC as we fondly call it. We want to tell you about something that we think is going to, in a sense, revolutionize the future of small museums. And we're, of course, focusing on northern Wisconsin. That definition, by the way, includes border to border, west to east across Wisconsin, and south to Highway 10. Although we're prepared.
Or thereabouts.
We're prepared to be flexible about that. Pretty soon we may take over the state, have to change our name. What we are here to talk about specifically today is a project that we're doing, which we call the Clio project. But it didn't arise of itself, and we didn't create the council to support the project. As a matter of fact, back in 2016, only 5 societies from Vilas County met to create a small consortium, or caucus, as we called it then. And the idea was simply that without structure, without a board, without votes or dues, we would meet on a regular basis to discuss our common problems and to find solutions, possibly work on joint projects. We started out, of course, with the common problem we all have, which is training on Past Perfect. We did have 2 initial meetings in which we worked with Peter Schrake, who is the archivist at Circus World, and a great guy. He'll hate me for passing this around, but he's a wonderful Past Perfect trainer. So they're Pete Ditcher, their commercial. That went very well for us. A 3rd project was dropped into our laps by a Vilas County Circuit Court judge who asked Vilas County to, whoopsie, where did we go? There we are. To hang historic photography in the courthouse. That's been done, and we are now working on a 2nd phase, so it is ongoing. But that brought up the first thing that led us to forming the Heritage Council. We needed money to do the project. People were good, they put money in, but we didn't have anywhere except a piggy bank to keep it. So it had to go into one of our members' treasuries and held in a pass-through account, and they all hated it because it messed up their accounting forever. So our next thought is, we really got to get a bank account. So we did. We got an EIN, we got a bank account. We thought we'd fix the problem. That wasn't quite true. We then went on to what we are doing in our project. Our first thought was simply that we would create an umbrella organization. It would then expand beyond our original intents, and that is a good idea. There's our piggy bank. And we again found out that one of our big problems was all of us had trouble with so many things: staffing, fundraising, all kinds of things. The trouble is, we all needed more, we didn't have enough, and we had to figure out how best to do it. And we thought that working collaboratively would be that way. And that is where we moved on to. We became more formal, we changed our name, we assessed dues, we formed a board. That was more than we'd intended, but it has worked out well so far. But the idea of the umbrella organization was because our history has been commonly kept local, and I do mean local, almost in a silo. And we don't connect with one another as much as we should when we have so much in common. We have a heritage that's much alike. Native peoples live across northern Wisconsin. We all have a background of railways, logging, and the tourism that followed it. We all have a common culture of the outdoors. This unites us across any political or even geographical boundaries that exist up here. Counties don't mean anything. So we are trying to work on that, to bring it together, to put it all in one place. Kristen said something wonderful. You all know so much about your local history. Now is the time that we want to bring it out and really share it beyond our own museums, our own historical societies, our own events. And this project, which Jim is going to explain the structure of it, I'm going to say the physical structure, but that's not real, the digital structure of what we are doing. We have created what, let's go back one more time. This is a picture of the landing page of our website. And across the top here, you will see tabs. Clicking on those will drop down all of our resources and posted tours, either by topic or by physical location. So if you're a visitor in the Northwoods and you decide you would like to pursue looking at vintage railway depots while you're up there, you click on topics. It will drop down under history tours and you will be able to find railways. And it'll bring up every tour we have regarding railway sites, abandoned lines, railway stations, and you can tour them by foot, by car. There are some up on our site you can tour by kayak. And you can, the nice thing is that they are vocal. You can click the vocal activation and put your phone on and it will read to you while you're walking, driving, or floating down the river. They are wonderful self-guided tours of all of our rich history in the Northwoods. We have expanded the membership of the Heritage Council, and in case you didn't get it on the first pass, everyone in this room is entitled by position of your history here, your potential members. And we are hoping that by taking our show on the road, we'll make you all aware of it, you will look at it, you'll go to our website, which you can find, although it's still in beta, and it will go live for you. We are adding a provision for non-historical society groups to be a part of what we are doing. Those are some of our tour possibilities that you can see. Some of those pictures will actually be appearing. And here we are, the handout that I gave you refers to this. And this is something that we don't talk a lot about, and that is the economic value of our heritage. We are not selling it off by the piece, but you'll find the numbers on there which are backed by hard research. And they're even bigger now than they were when they were recorded here. But heritage tourism represents a huge amount of the tourism industry, and it's growing every single day. By best estimations, up to 10 years ago, a fraction of 55% of tourism visits had some element of cultural history involved in them. People want a purpose to their vacations. They don't want something mindless anymore. They want an authentic experience. They want to connect with local people. All of this will help them to do that in a large way. And many of our first tour postings have been for, guess what? Local history, museums, and sites. So this is an attraction for you as well. It will draw more visitors to your museum. I'm not, sometimes you say, this happened, therefore that must be true. It isn't always so, but I have to believe there's an element of it. We've been tracking our members, our visits, unique visits, to our two museums in Eagle River for some time. Last year, and this site, mind you, was only in beta, we quadrupled it. And I can't think that's entirely an accident or a post-COVID bump. I do see some cause and effect going on here.
If it's in beta, does the public, can they search it?
You can find it, but...
Oh, it's open to anybody. We're not advertising the links.
But we haven't
because we need to get more entries and more people like you to share great destinations, That's the tide that'll lift this project.
And when we say we hope, it's our target, to go live in September. And at that point, I will be soliciting a GEM grant from the Department of Tourism. I don't know if you're all familiar with the terms of those, but in year one, they will give you 75% of the marketing budget for something like this, or an event or anything else. In year two, it drops to 50, year 3 to 25%, but you should be well on the road by that point.
Who's that through? The GEM grant?
The GEM grant is the Department of Tourism.
Department of Tourism, got it.
Right. And I've already talked to them, they love this, as does everyone we've talked to, because it involves so many active partners, all contributing.
We had somebody from the Department of Wisconsin Tourism that came and spoke last year at one of our consortium meetings about the GEM grant, and we, at that time, wanted to do this, but we didn't know how.
Yeah, it's, this is a unique thing. It is, when Jim and I presented this at the state conference last year, our topic was focused on collaboration, which is completely what this is involved with. You know, it is all about collaboration. Now Jim is going to come here and he's going to show you what has been built, our website, and what we have done. We were able to get a $2,000 grant from Wisconsin Humanities Council this year, and with that we have hired someone who now does a great deal of the tech work. Jim has been stuck for a long time in the administrator's position. We're going to be passing that off to paid staff, and once we have done this and gone live, there is a strong possibility that we, and I'm quoting here, it's not my wishful thinking, that we can go back to the Humanities Council and request a major grant for up to $10,000 to continue the funding for what we're doing. We have built what Jim calls the best on-ramp we can find, and people who contribute history tours now have to do three things. They have to write it, they have to find some photographs to go with it, and they have to cite their sources. Jim will go more deeply into that in just a minute. But that makes us something unique in history online. It's authentic, it is accurate, and is demonstrated with our site. That, again, if you were at the conference last October, you heard a keynote speaker talk about all the fake history that's out there. This is history that we can stand behind and say, yes, this is valid. So I'm going to give it to Jim, but are there any questions that you'd like to ask me before I go? Crickets, good. Okay, Jim.
Yeah, I just want to, Terry does amazing work. I'm kind of the tech side. I'm a retired history teacher of 34 years. I live in Matchwish Waters, and I have a strong sense of urgency for historic preservation and the migration in rural areas like ours of key destinations and key cultural points onto this platform so future generations can have it. And that's what I'm about. None of us are paid, none of us draw a nickel from any of this. We're all paying it forward. So we went through this, and we were going to progress on this together. We have, and I'll demonstrate the whole website, but I'm going to pop through it real quick on the screen, you know, introduce it, then develop it, and then you can ask your questions. But each one of these pins marks one of our communities who are presently involved in this. You click on the pin, you go right to their webpage for their community. The benefits of heritage tourism we've talked about. The Historical Society supports this. And it all started, we have a lot of bike trails up where we are in the Lakes District. And there was all this discussion, we should make a paper handout. And I'm in the back of the room. Go digital, don't do paper. Don't do the paper thing. But, you know, there was a lot of anxiety on how to do that. And we had all these trails, and it was static, and you couldn't get any information from this, right? And at what point, so many of the users today expect to have this digital access. So we did a lot of explaining and exploring of three different models. WordPress, a simple web development program that I can use. A custom one, we dropped that because it was $20,000 a year. All right, and then Clio. We also looked into an app. They have a Map-It app in Vilas County that was over $100,000 in development. The budgets, what we ended up doing is merging WordPress and Clio together. Clio is free. It's funded by the National Endowment of Humanities. You could create your own Clio account and go on your own, but we're creating an on-ramp so that you don't have to fight all the technical battles, so you can quickly actualize the kind of connections. So we have our own WordPress that we own, and then we link out to Clio. That's kind of how we're operating. And our costs go way down. Basically, we have $120 a year for hosting the website. We have a $300 fee for initial setup and so on. We're billed at $40 an hour, and basically 1 hour a month they do maintenance. The whole cost for our website is $614. That we can manage annually. So, but you don't have to pay for this. This, to join, it's $100 a year. But we do much more. We have somebody hired to help you load this all on and get it up. All right, so we're not saying you have to go and learn Clio and everything else, because it can be a little slippery for some folks. So again, we're using our web page, and then we create these Clio tours. And I'm going to take you through this on one before we're done. So what is Clio? Many of you are probably saying, what is this deal, right? It's a free web-based application. You create two things. Entries. This building could be an entry. This complex could be a tour. This complex could be an entry. I mean, you're real flexible, and then can be linked all over the state, okay? Clio entries and tours are geolocated. The people at Clio says, what's the advantage of Clio? They go, location, location, location. It'll get you to the exact spot and will link you with all sorts of different cultural resources. So you're saying if you're in the town of Luck or something like that, they'll bring you right to the spot that you want. If you have a museum, great. If it's a historical marker, great. If it's a hiking trail to an old logging camp, great. You can do it on a bike trail, you could do it on a canoe trip. It all has that flexibility, but that's the geolocating. So what we basically do is in our webpage, under communities, this is Managed Fish Waters, we go out to our heritage tour, and then all of our links there. So in your community, you would be added to that list, and anything that you build out would be all there, and it'd be kind of community-centric. You know what I'm saying? This is what we do in Barrett, okay? And then the northern Wisconsin tours have increased. This is how many heritage tours there were in August of last year. Here it is in February. Here it is in April. There are more and more of these tours coming up, and that's because of who we are. I think the strongest part of this, because we could all make our own websites and kind of put our tours out, the strongest part of this experience is when we come together in a consortium under history tours. So we have a drag-down menu with all these different ideas. So we share something like logging. It will go out to logging, and all logging tours from all groups would be linked and then geolocated all over. So if somebody's up in Boulder Junction and looking at the train station and saying, well, I got to go back to Minneapolis, we got some time, I got the grandkids, we have to take a break, they're going back this way anyway. It's like, oh yeah, there's a neat destination here or there. When you think about logging, I know here in Cameron, one of the biggest events of outright disobedience in the logging era was the Dietz event, correct?
That actually took place up by Winter.
It did.
But yeah, the Battle of the Cameron Dam.
Cameron Dam battle, right. Yeah. So I mean, that's a huge story that most people don't know about. But then you can geolocate it, so people won't have the misnomer that I do by the name of it. You follow? Yeah. See, it's helpful in its design in that regard. And then it would be for everything, your schools, your churches, we can go on and on and on. So it's all flexibility within that. And what it does, it gets us out of our silos. We're all interconnected at that point. What you value in your community, we value all across the Northwoods. So we created an on-ramp for this. I created a tutorial in YouTube. We have found that many of our older members don't like using YouTube to learn. That's okay. We have, we'll do Zoom meetings. I'm meeting with 3 different groups this week to teach them how to build this up. We could do a workshop down here with you as a consortium and help you guys with Zoom. It's not really that hard. We have a form for you to fill out so you don't have to go through all the elements of Clio. And the form is very simple. You just click on it, and it's an online form. And it's that, or if you're really super techie and you want to do this all on your own, we have members who do that as well. You say, yeah, I do this stuff in my sleep. You can be independent and we'll just onboard your work. But you just fill out a regular 3-page form like you'd fill out. It's like your name, your information, what tour do you want to link to? Like, maybe it's logging in railroads and so on. These are all the things that we have to move forward. And then we will populate. The $100 you pay empowers us to populate Clio so you don't have to do all that techie work. Do you follow me? If you can fill out a 3-page form, it's like introduction, the whole body of the story, pictures, sources, address. That's basically it. And you're good.
Is it, so that's linked to our websites, but would our websites also be able to be linked to
Yes,
that?
that's a very intuitive question. You bet. You bet. And then, so if you came on, you would just fill out this form, and we would create your own web page. And so we would link out to your website here. And I'll show you examples of that in a moment, all right? So basically, what do you have to do? You're supposed to copy it, proofread your Clio tours and entries, and then fill out the form. You should back up anything that you do. Whenever you do historical work, you should back it up. Mm-hmm. We do try to back up all of your photos and files, but for preservation, it should be backed up in 3 spots, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And at this point, you deliver the content and you pay the dues, and that's it for the whole year. We're there
How
for
do
you.
the tourists find Clio?
Well, we have to advertise it, but they already are. When I go online, we're getting hundreds of hits on this already just through Clio. So when Karen said we're in beta right now, we're building this and training and gathering participants like you all. But we have to get critical mass out there for tours. You know what I'm saying?
So what you're saying is it's already live.
It's
but
all
it's not
live.
advertised.
We're not advertising
So
this
you can
now.
search and find it.
Oh,
but
yeah, right.
We could make it easy. for
Exactly. And we create QR codes. You could put a link on your web page. You could have QR codes on your buildings around here. There's all sorts of different ways.
them. All the tourism places.
Yeah, and alike. So with this in mind, what I'd like to do is get out of here and then just go onto the web page and kind of show you how it works, okay? That would probably be our best move. So here it is. This is our live website that you can go to at any time. You see down here we have the drag down to these different areas like these. And so this is Boulder Junction. You click on Boulder Junction, it pops up, and there's the Boulder Junction webpage. Okay? There's their heritage tour, that's their Clio tour. This is all the community websites. But if Boulder Junction had, and they don't, any other digital tours, their website would be down here. But like some museums, like Eagle River and Rhinelander, they've paid for a 360 tour. We would put those links there. So ultimately, what you would have in your communities is however much you want to build in there. But it's all going to be located, right here where we can look for these communities and alike. So I'm in Manitowish Waters, and I've been messing around with this for a while. And if you look at ours, we have a heritage tour, a canoe and kayak tour, a historic pub crawl tour, and we have the Northern Wisconsin History Experience Heritage Tour, Forest History Experience Heritage Tour. And you can see we can add these links to it. So that takes care of your community, right? And this is good. But the next step is great. This is where this whole plan goes from good to great. When you can actually go over here to your history tours and click on something like railroads, and then, you know, it just goes out from there, and then we start to see the geolocation. Do you see why we're in beta? We're not getting enough entries. How many railroads are in all those towns that you see there, and people aren't filling out the form so we can get them up? So what we're trying to do is generate enthusiasm, you know, pump the brakes on the speed of all of this and train people up so they're comfortable filling out, you know, the Clio forms so we can start to populate it so we get, you know, the goal would be to get to double digits on some of these things, you know what I'm saying? And then we would go live. But it, like with, you know, we have encountered more anxiety by some of our members about bringing the history forward. You have most of these types of tours already written up in your museums. You have stories, you have locations, and everything like that. The introduction needs to be 50 words. 100 is better. But you also talk about the location, and then the main body, 250 word minimum, 500 or more is better. But the beauty of this being digital, you can give me 250 now, and then in 6 weeks you can add more, and you say, I have more to add, and it's digital. It's not like we have a sign that we paid $400 out here for, right? That we found a typo on, and we're all embarrassed about it. We've all been to this show, haven't we? And all the expense. So, you know, it gives us this flexibility, and people can listen to it on their phones and so on. Yes?
Okay, so I'm a Luddite, and
Sure.
beta, what?
Beta means you're just practicing. You're building. You're not ready for prime time. You're not going to showcase it.
Okay.
You're learning from an early implementation of your project.
It's a practice. But I'd like to interrupt Jim. He said we've had hundreds of visits. In truth, the last time he looked, we had 6,500. And that's in less than a year without any advertising. So people are finding it and they're using it.
So the website's up, it's just not necessarily final, like they're still making tweaks to it. That's
Oh, wait.
being a
We're
beta.
making tweaks and we haven't advertised it.
What we need to do is get more participants giving us more entries to share this. Let me show you what an entry looks like.
So there's a house but no furniture.
So is there a,
Yeah.
is there a final version? Is it called something or?
It'll be when this evolves into something that has more entries. Everything we have works.
So it's still beta, but it's just more.
We need more participation. We need more entries because we only have 4. So here's something that you might find to be particularly appealing. So you're on your phone, right? And your visitor's over there and they want to walk.
1889, the Chicago Northwestern Railroad tracks crossed the Manitowish River and established a modest rail stop.
It'll read it right to you.
By 1890, loggers, trappers,
That's the whole
guides,
introduction. So what you
sportsmen,
write
and
can come
pioneers
through
rushed to the
this.
Manitowish rail stop as a
As you go down further below, and there are even more here. Here's the whole story, and I'm not going to turn on the text editor there. It goes all the way down like this. And then we're even able to link our YouTube videos at the bottom of this. This is all in one entry. You don't, if you have any of these kind of videos or somebody else does, Clio can handle all of this and put it in the palm of your residents and visitors. Yes?
So it's, in other words, it's similar to if you go to a Civil War battle site, the National Park Service, and you do the virtual tour, and do a number one, two, the driving
Yeah.
tour.
We have a choice of
all
driving
there.
tours that we can make, we could do walking tours. I had to call the people and said, what would a kayak tour be under? They go, yeah, it's a walking tour. That's what it is. Yeah, but that's exactly it. So if you go to these Civil War reenactment, Revolutionary War reenactments, you know, you can go from place to place. But again, you get to show your community's experience. You know, but you know, they might be up in Manitowish, but then there'll be one for, you know, Mercer, Wisconsin, and there's one in Eagle River. But I mean, all the railroad stations that were critical to all the towns in northern Wisconsin, you know, this will be dozens ultimately, correct? And why we're in beta is that we're in single digits, and we need to get closer to a dozen. Do you understand? Before we release this, otherwise they seem somewhat incomplete.
I'm really enjoying the resort tour that
You are.
you're
Well,
talking
the
about.
resort tour is kind of fun,
It's
isn't
a
it?
lot of fun.
Yeah, and you know, when you talk about resorts and so on, I mean, these are, and if you have another topic we don't have, we'll add the topic, okay? But we have farms and churches and, you know, all of those can be seen really quite easily. So, another one that might be kind of an interesting element would be, this is what people love around our town, restaurants and taverns. You ever run into that? Yeah. Well, here we're getting better numbers, do you see?
You know,
Wisconsin.
people write what they know.
Yeah, and they know what they love.
Yeah.
So, you know, and at that point, you can look at this, but you know, as we fan out, we don't have enough, and you guys would just be all over here populating this part of the state. Are you with me? And we can just slide the order around in these so that, you know, they remain logicals. And but you're linked to this, okay? So the, you know, Buccaneer Supper Club or whatever that's down the road, if we have a link to that and you wanted to put it on your webpage, you know what I mean, reciprocally, that'll always stay the same, and you can put it there, though we may change the order because as people start piling in with more supper clubs between here and Manitowish Waters, but the program makes it so easy. For me, as a programmer, I won't go behind the wall. All I do is drag and drop these up.
So if there's a topic already that you have on there, say you have the trains, and we have a train expert, and he's written at least 5 books on trains, all around Wisconsin.
So, yeah.
So if he put some of his stuff on there,
Yeah.
but somebody else had train stuff too, does it go together? And
Well, that's very good. And this gets into development. So what in developing a Clio submission, they take you through steps. So the first thing is, and we put addresses on the form, they want to know where you are, okay? And if you don't have a physical address, like it's out in the woods, like a lot of mine are, it's just GPS coordinates. And I can show you how to find those. It's one click on a Google map. Basically, you open up a Google map, you go to that point, you right click on it, it just appears. It's that easy. But it has to know where to geolocate to. And if we miss it by a little bit, we can always move it. That's the beauty of this versus my sign metaphor over here. You know, we can correct ourselves. And, you know, if there's a picture that, you know, maybe we needed different permissions for or something, you know, we could take it down, then get the permissions, and then pop it back up again. Okay? But as you go through all of these, you have the opportunity to really modify them in the long term and add other pieces to it. Is there more to your question?
Well, so it'd be a separate tour, even if somebody else did a train thing somewhere.
Well, see, the thing, okay, so if it was, the next step that we go in the page is it looks for a duplicate tour. So let's say somebody, as they did in Eagle River, went and created something for your ice arena, which is all historic and cool. I don't know if you know about Eagle River ice hockey. But they hadn't done anything there since 2015. And then what we do is we reach out. They did that to us in Manchester Waters for Little Bohemia. And I reached out to the administrator and said, hey, can we take control of that? That's fine. If there's an active administrator on it, let's say that a neighboring historical society did it, there's a way that we can ask that person to make a change. They don't have to make a change, but usually if you give them a good additional paragraph or a really cool picture
Yeah.
or a neat citation, they say, oh yeah, I'd definitely add that.
Yeah.
So, you know, no one has anything here now. If we start now, we will be the controllers of all of these different destinations. If there's somebody else there and it goes dormant, we can talk to the administrator, done that. And otherwise, we just ask the scholar who's in charge to make the addition, you know, the edit that you're suggesting. Yes?
Okay, I think he already answered this, but so there would be an administrator and that's the only person that can change any information? It's not like Wikipedia or whatever?
No, just that. No, this does not let everybody come in and play games with this. They have to submit to it, and it goes to the reviewer, which is me. It's soon going to be somebody else because I have other things that I want to do. But we're at the point that we need to get your comfort level up, get your understanding up, have you have a few successes with this, and just maybe set a goal to get 3 to 5 of these things loaded this year in your town. And it's, I taught history for years. I mean, it's about like writing a blue book for a history exam in college. You have a pretty good introduction, and then you write out a couple of paragraphs that are, most relevant, and then you're basically done. And then we have this way to submit it, which is really quite simple. And that's the on-ramp that we're creating and why we're an organization, and rather than just saying, hey, you guys all make your own Clio tours and we'll all get together at some other point. Yes?
So when it's out of the beta mode, if I just went to Google and typed in Barron County Railroad Tours.
Yeah, it searches really, really well on Google. Do you want me to do that right now with this Manitwish tour?
Yeah.
Now, know that Manitwish Waters is doing a lot of digital work as well that cover this. So here's the Manitwish Waters Historical Society. Here is the historical. This is my video. Video, past perfect. There it is.
So Karen had mentioned
Right
that.
there. Cleo, boom. You're back in it.
Karen had mentioned that when we submit, the photos and the text, we also have to submit citations.
Yes.
So do the citations appear on there? 'Cause
Yes,
I
they do. Oh, no worries. Here we go. Again, you guys are doing a great job in absorbing a lot of information. So here are the citations down here. Okay, and if you are like super tech savvy, they have a citation helper that you can use that'll do your citations for you, and they keep it simple. It will not take an entry unless there is a citation. And you can't just say Cameron Historical Society. I mean, you need to, I would use that citation, I'd fill it out completely, but you would hope that there would be some other text. It could be a Cameron publication, all right, that's maybe online and things like this. But one or two might be enough for your particular submission. Also, when it comes to citation, you guys are asking all the right questions, by the way. So if we go into images, here, they're going to ask you to enter a caption, because images are better with captions. Don't you agree? All right. And then they're going to actually ask you for a source. So you can bounce through these things right here. I use ads all the time. How many of you use newspapers.com? Oh, this is where you go with newspapers.com. You get these early articles, you blow it up, and you take the masthead or the heading of it, and you put it up there to give them the context, and the big idea you want to bring in there, and 40-minute work from Chippewa Falls right down here. You understand the connection between us? Everything ran through the Flambeau, Chippewa rivers and alike, and 5,500,000 feet of logs. So I mean, this is part of that connective tissue that's between all of our communities, and these are the primary sources that we can use, and it really makes it illustrative, and it makes somebody think, well, what's down further south from here? Water goes downhill, the logs go downhill, and then then we are doing a lot of work, and there's the train, there's the station. This is the old route on the buckboard to Manchester Waters, where we didn't have a railroad, except logging railroads. And there's the downtown. Chuck's Bar is still there, by the way. And there's the school. There's a whole moonshine element in this town. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Though you're a little drier over on this side of the state than the other side of the state. But I'm sure you had.
This is Wisconsin.
Come on over.
Things coming on here.
But do you see how this can really be kind of fun as you build these out, and then you become part of a community of historians? And this is, if we were in the Milwaukee area, all the Milwaukee groups would just do this on their own because they're big and they got bigger budgets and they got money and all this. But when you think about all of our different small groups, like one of the most rural counties in the state is Price County, and they joined as a county. And John Berg is marshaling a lot of the work, and he's helping all the other affiliates there kind of on board through him, but he's kind of leading the way. So it's not like all of you have to all become involved immediately, but please have an open mind, and please have some of you come forward and then go into a beta level experience where you play with it, okay? And it's not ready, we cannot post them, or we can post them, and then you can kind of see what it looks like, when you fit in. And a lot of our groups are fledging in that they're just learning how to do it, and that's frankly a good thing. So if you go back to communities, what would be a good one? Here's Blaze. He's our tech savvy guy. He is in Mercer and Winchester, and he's creating the Mercer tour, and he has all of these tours from Mercer, Wisconsin. It's the Mercer Library, the Railroad Depot, Billy's Bar. Billy's Bar was run by Ralph Capone.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that brings relevance up immediately, doesn't it? You drop that name. Yeah, he was the unofficial owner. And, the first school site here, and you guys have schools and historic things. Do you see how all of a sudden they run across here? As a retired teacher, I applaud this. This is good culture to capture. And then what he did, and this is what Cleo can really do well. So I live in the township next to him. And so I did some work in his township because the river connects all of us.
Excuse me, Jim, we've
Yep.
got time for about 2 or 3
Oh,
more
okay.
questions, and then
And I
we
added
are off.
these from there.
So if somebody wanted to be part of the beta,
Yep.
do we just talk to you? Do we pay the $100? Do
Just get in touch. I'll leave you my card. You can email me.
Okay.
Anyone can join the Heritage Council at any time. Let me be very clear. Everyone is welcome to come to our meetings and visit, but if you want to be part of the project or anything else we're doing, we do ask for dues of $100 a year, only per organization. You can send as many people to a meeting or to participate in anything that you want. 10 people can show up. This is just per organization, and it's only to fund the work that we're doing here in an ongoing way.
And where are you located?
We aren't located anywhere.
Oh, okay.
We take our meetings around as we develop memberships in a certain area. We try to schedule a meeting in that area. I know that sooner or later, as we spread out and it gets to be a 2 or 3 hour drive for some people or more, we will probably go to some Zoom meetings just so that more people can participate without the drive. But we will still be continuing to have in-person meetings, even if we move them around regions.
So
Have you harvested the geocache movement?
You know, the geocache movement is an awesome but separate movement. And the creators of Clio are very clear. This is an academic exercise. This is not a place for, Facebook and Instagram freewheeling kind of things. A lot of people, for instance, in history, love to post on a Facebook page that would be pictures, and it just pops up, and everybody joins in and says, yay. But, you know, there's no metadata, there's no context,
Right.
it's not connected to anything else. Sometimes you don't even know the authenticity of this. And with the growing rise of artificial intelligence and so on, I can look up Cameron and I can write a story and I can make up images through artificial intelligence and I can post it. And it's going to happen. All right? And they're going to take your stories and then do that as well. Here, there's a real quality control setting. This is run by a professor out of Kansas City at the University of Missouri. And their standards, I mean, they review this, and you know, you can get pulled over if you're not doing it the right way.
Good business cards.
Yeah, Karen has them.
I'll make-
I'm the tech geek. She's the business side of the deal. Okay, that's kind of how we partition all of this.
Well, thank you.